Menos mal la capicultura no se llama Camila.
Now it is, we should be going live. Sí, pero es porque estamos grabando por YouTube. Yeah. La gente está mirando por YouTube y también es mucha gente después, sí. Porque es en un canal de YouTube, sí, de Giesen.
Eso hay que mandarlo a nosotros para que lo vean.
And we are waiting for direct connection here from Quindío, Armenia, in Colombia.
Really?
Okay. La música. Okay. Okay, welcome at this beautiful day, February 25th, 2022. My name is Willem Boots, and next to me I have a very well-known Colombian coffee expert, Jaime Duque.
Hello, Willem. Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Yes, good morning or good evening or good night, wherever you are in this wonderful world of coffee. I'm so happy to be here in the department of Quindío, Colombia, which is the coffee center of this part of Colombia. The Colombians call this area of Quindío the Eje Cafetero. And why the Eje Cafetero, which means the coffee axis? Why the Eje Cafetero is because around this town of Armenia, where we are, there are many, many coffee farms situated. And we are here at a beautiful coffee center, coffee education center that was built by Jaime Duque and his team and his company. So before I continue, I would like to just ask Jaime Duque to tell a little bit about himself. And so Jaime, we have known each other for many years. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
And thank you, Willem. So, yeah, we met many, many years ago. We are involved in the coffee industry since at least 30 years ago. And I started like agricultural engineering at the far level, working with a Colombian Coffee Federation. So since there, I started to learn about this beautiful and fantastic product that is coffee. So then I retired after 16 years, and I started my own company, established in Bogota, and I created two different brands, Catación Pública for roaster coffee, and Jaime Duque Educación for education.
And what does Catación Pública mean in English?
It's like a cupping public. So the origin of this name was thinking in to be more exciting thing with the coffee and to be public for all people.
And so tell me a little bit more, why is it so important to have a center like this? And by the way, you all will see the center up close because we have a beautiful show prepared for you. But let me ask Jaime, why is such a center so important for the Colombian coffee industry?
Since we started to work in coffee, always I have a way to educate people. So when I started to work in front of the customer through the coffee bar, like as Catación Pública has in Bogota, so I developed information, share to the normal customers, because we are in front of the very interesting product, and people here in Colombia doesn't know too much about coffee, just people inside of the coffee industry. So that was the purpose at that moment.
But there's also another reason why we are here, and that is because of Giesen. As most of you know, I am one of the ambassadors for Giesen. And Giesen, you pronounce it. And Jaime Duque, he is also very closely connected with Giesen as a distributor agent for Giesen.
Yeah, we started these relations with Giesen. Thank you, Willem, for introduce me to Giesen in Holland. And I'm really happy because Giesen has very good input to this into this center.
And so let me explain you what we are going to do here today. So today what we will focus on is, first and foremost, we will have a tour around this beautiful coffee learning center of Giesen. And I see that my director is pointing to me, and if there's a message that I should read from you, si hay algo para leer de mi parte, ¿sí? ¿Sí? Okay, ¿estamos bien? Okay. I was just checking that we are in good shape with our broadcasting. So what do we have prepared for you here today? Before we get really to the roasting part of this webinar, of course, we will have a Giesen machine, a W1A prepared for you, preheated. Before we start focusing on that, I want to just take you around this coffee learning center to basically review and prepare some of the distinct steps necessary to basically prepare green coffee beans before they are going to be roasted. And I would say, let's get started, let's get working, because we have some distinct steps to follow before we get to roasting and tasting. And shall we go? Shall we start?
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
Good.
Go ahead.
And so here in the Coffee Learning Center of Catación Pública, there are different, I would say, coffee education focus areas. And the first area that we're now entering is the area called the Triadora. This is where coffees are being what we call hulled. So, and if we bring the camera a bit closer, if you can show me some, and this is, by the way, maybe you can introduce yourself also.
Hey guys, my name is Adrian. Thank you, Willem.
And Adrian is one of the coffee experts here at Catación Pública, and he is going to help us. So I have some parchment beans. And what is a parchment bean? That is the bean that sits inside the cherry. And before a parchment bean becomes a parchment bean, the cherry first has to be depulped, and then it has to be processed And this is a so-called washed processed coffee. So before we start roasting, we're going to use this machine here, which is a coffee huller. And in this coffee huller, through friction, we remove the little skins, the hulls, from the coffee beans so that we can use those same beans for our roasting process. And this is going to make a little bit of noise. So let's go. And so there's a lot of noise because there's a lot of energy, force required to remove these skins from the green coffee beans. And so now I basically have green coffee beans and some of this chaff, some of these hulls. This is normally the work that a coffee exporter will do prior to the coffee being ready for prime time to be exported to the destination country. And so, Ariana,
Next.
so what is the next step?
Next step is the monitor in Colombia. Name for Colombia is the analysis in the granulometría.
Yeah,
para Colombia.
So this is the analysis of the actual screen size of the coffee beans. And this is, for example, screen 18. The number 18 is related to the actual diameter of the holes in this screen. This is screen 14, which is much smaller. So in this screening operation, what we do is this machine shakes quite vigorously for a set amount of time. And then it allows us to see how much coffee remains on each screen. And that we can measure in the form of a percentage. And that helps us understand how the preparation of this coffee was. But it also helps us to understand if this is coffee from one distinct supplier, whether or not this specific lot, this specific sample is consistent with the sample that was provided previously by the same supplier. So it's a test that also helps us understand how the farm conditions were, because when cherries ripen properly, then the screen size will typically be a little bit larger. And now that we're talking about cherries, let's look at some cherries in different stages of ripening. And so here you can see, we're going to do a little close-up. You can see the cycle from the beginning of a flower, a bud, to a early flower, right before pollination. Now we have here a flower. It's a little bit dried up because last night I picked this flower and you can see how precious they are. Then we get to the point where the flower is dried. At that point, we will see the beginning of a coffee cherry about 4 to 6 weeks after the flowers disappear. And now you can see here the ripening cycle of that bean, fully green, unripe, still unripe, still unripe, unripe, little bit ripe, little bit riper. And now you can gradually see how this cherry starts ripening. And so if I would take this cherry and want to inspect that further, I could take it here. I could pop it open. And now you can see from that one cherry, I have 2 beans. And you can see The substance around this bean is a little bit shiny. That is the mucilage. It's a sticky substance. It's a pectin layer, basically. And in order to remove that, we have to ferment the coffee. We have to dry the coffee. We have to wash it before drying, of course. And then we finally will have the parchment bean. So that's little explanation on that part. So let's go back to the screening. And so Adrian is going to show the screening of this sample. I typically do this by hand. In our laboratory in the United States, we don't have such fancy machine. And so if you do this by hand, then you really have to assure that the motion you're using is consistent, plus that you do it for a certain amount of time. So let's give it 10 more seconds. Great. So now we can inspect the distribution of the bean size of this specific sample. So here we see screen 18. So this is the largest screen, the largest size beans. Then we have screen 17. Then we have screen 16 and 15. So what typically is the case that when you buy your coffee from a supplier, your Colombian coffee, in the contract for that coffee, you will agree on a certain size distribution. And what a typical contract for, let's say, an Excelso bean could say is that the biggest percentage has to be above screen 17, and then a certain percentage above screen 16. Like, what is the typical size you expect from an Excelso coffee? ¿Cuál es el tamaño típico de un Excelso de Colombia?
En promedio de 15 a 17 es en promedio de volumen grande.
So he says, on average, in an Excelso coffee, Excelso is basically identification of the preparation of the coffee by the exporter. You would be supplying, or you would be expected to buy a screen distribution from 15 up to 17.
Aunque algunas regiones de Colombia con más altura sobre el nivel del mar, el grano es un poco más pequeño y hay más granos retenidos en la malla número 14.
So there are regions in Colombia that have coffee farms, at very high elevations, up till 2,000 meters or even beyond. And as a result of that, the beans are smaller. They're more dense, more compact, which also has an impact, of course, on the roasting profile. So if I would take from this lot, from this sample, the screen 18, the 17, 16, 15, and if I would roast those separately, interestingly, you will find out that the flavor profile is really distinct for each size distribution. And that's really, really cool. We have been playing around with this in the past a lot. And when you use your Giesen roaster, you can have a lot of fun doing these trials. So let's go to the next step. I just want to show kind of, so what happens here in this area?
So this is the agronomic area. We created this space for explaining to our customer and visitor and our trainers, teach how is the impact of the picking process or the pulping process or fermentation process.
I see you have some really cool posters here. Can you give a brief explanation of these posters?
Sure.
Can you stand maybe there?
So you see here, harvest process. So these posters are very useful and very practical because we put, when we created with USAID program, it's a sad cup and happy cup. For example, if the growers is picking a perfect cherry like this, so the cup will be happy. And is getting a green beans, the cup will be astringency and ugly or sad.
And I just want to comment is that Jaime and I have been over the years collaborating here in a program in Colombia with funding by USAID. And we developed this platform, Café para la Paz, Coffee for Peace, to basically educate farmers using these types of quality instruction tools. Usually these quality instruction tools or these quality instructions are written down in boring manuals, but here we have exciting posters. And our team, together with Casey O'Keefe and David Poe and Jaime Duque and many others from the program here in Colombia, we've been very successful as a team to do this. And that has been partially funded, to a great deal funded by the American taxpayer through USAID. But continue, please.
No, sure. I remember your instruction when we created this poster because it should be very nice, exciting poster. So now we find the pulping machine. The pulping machine, it's like this. I know that most of our growers has the pulping machine. It's working, but it is important how is the impact on the cut profile. Also fermentation and wash coffee. So we focus in this poster in the Fermaestro, which is a technology developed by Seni Cafe. And the result is to watch the coffee in the perfect moment of fermentation. So, and also the fourth poster is talking about drying and storage. That is really important advice. Now, with using a gravimet that allow two growers to get the coffee in between 10 and 12% of moisture.
Very cool. And do you see at every critical step of these posters that basically have 17 critical steps, best practices, you see this relationship between the happy cup and the sad cup. And I really like that. This also illustrates how technical the coffee process is, the cherry to green bean process. And it is so eminently important for farmers to be able to do the right thing. And these training tools really help. And so, Jaime, in this area, you basically do instruction of consumers or of coffee professionals. And you have just opened this center, very exciting. So what's your vision for the future?
No, the future is that many people come here and teach about coffee, learn about coffee, sorry. And we want to share this, not only techniques, but also cup experience, cupping the coffees in this table.
Cool. So now, Adrian, you've been waiting. Let's do a quick demonstration of the grading process. This is the inspection process of the green beans in order to determine what potentially physical quality issues there are with this specific sample. And so here, Adrian is basically doing an inspection. So, Adrian, what are you looking for?
No, estamos viendo un excelso de Colombia muy limpio, muy pocos defectos, un buen proceso en finca.
And he's saying basically we're looking at an Excelso coffee that overall seems to be very clean. From a distance, I can also see very few issues. To give you an idea, when you have a sample that has had serious problems at the farm or at the processing mill, then you can find these types of troubleshooters. And no, not troubleshooters. You can find these types of problems, right? And this inspection, here are some other examples. This inspection allows you to get an idea of the overall quality of the lots. Also, very technical stuff. If any of you is ever interested to learn more about this, you can come here to Jaime Duque, Catación Pública, or you can come to Boot Coffee Campus, and there we have courses all over. And hopefully also in the future, we can organize these courses at the new Giesen headquarters in the Netherlands. So Jaime, what's next?
We're gonna enter to the roasting area. So we are really happy to have this technology in Quindío and in Colombia. And this technology allowed to offer to all, not only for growers, but also people involved of the coffee chains in Colombia, and to have a really nice roasting profile, really nice, beautiful machine, and also very well, very good results in the end.
Cool. So let's have a brief talk about roasting strategies, roasting profiles, right? Colombia has many different departments where coffee is grown at many different elevations also. So we want to pick your brains. So how do we roast Colombian coffee?
So I have been getting coffees from the north, latitude 11 degrees of latitude north, and also 1 degree of latitude north. So from Nariño and from Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta, and I'm using this technology. The software of Giesen allow me to move and to play with the different coffees, because each coffee has a specific flavor.
So can we look at a couple of examples of profiles?
Sure, William.
And I hope if it's
this is
if you can film the screen so we can look at the profile itself.
This is the first profile. It's you see the extended curve.
So see the red curve is the bean temperature,
right?
And then the blue curve is the air temperature. And then what is the other curve that we see?
The flame.
Okay.
Flame. And you see the first crack here and the end.
Yeah.
And also we are trying to develop this kind profile from Jamundí Valle.
From where?
Jamundí Valle. Jamundí is a town.
So there's the region of Valle.
The regional Valle.
And Jamundí is the town.
Is the town.
And so this roast was how many minutes? It was 9 minutes. Huh?
9 minutes.
Yeah. And maybe you can show this again. So you can see here the end of the roast. We can here see the rate of rise. It tells me that they had, for this profile, they were taking a lot of samples.
Yeah.
As a result of that, the rate of rise becomes a little bit jagged. But that's nothing to worry about. Those that might think, oh, these are flips and twips and chips and whatever we call them, I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah.
Because we're really looking at a curve that is suitable for, would you say, for higher density beans? This?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a 650 density number.
Yeah. And then let's look at another potential curve that you have been preparing. So what do we see here on this curve?
So we changed the flame density. This is 50%, and try to be longer the curve. And we are trying to develop more sugar reaction, Maillard reaction, or something like that to be more sweeter.
And so the Maillard reactions on this specific profile would have been, I would say, from here, so minute 7 more or less up until minute 12, right? Minute 13. The roast was in total almost 15 minutes, so a slower roast. Can we look at the previous curve again?
Sure.
So here on this curve, look at the different rate of rise curve the highest point of the rate of rise, which is here, is around 13 degrees. This is Celsius per 30 seconds. And you can see that obviously that this curve leads also to a fairly different outcome. Higher rate of rise, as a result, also a shorter roast profile in the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jaime, tell us, what are we going to roast today?
So we recently buy a beautiful coffee. It's a Catiope coffee. Catiope, it's
Catiope.
Catiope. It's a variety developed by Senicafe. Senicafe gave.
And Senicafe is the National Research Institute here in Colombia. It's a foremost institute that does amazing work for the coffee growers, coffee farmers of Colombia.
Yeah. So Senicafe passed this coffee to one grower in Caldas state. He planted this Catiope. Catiope is a mix in between Castillo and one Ethiope variety. That mix looking for a roast. This is the result. This is an Catiope.
Okay, so can we look at this a little bit up close with the camera? So you can see that this is a natural process. Is it anaerobic fermentation or aerobic?
Anaerobic, I think.
Anaerobic. So you can see the beans look a little bit, I would say, the color is a little bit inconsistent. That is not unusual with processed coffees. It's a natural process, which means the coffee was dried in the cherry, and prior to that, anaerobic fermentation. And so, what is your roasting strategy for this specific coffee, and why?
So I'm gonna start around 150 degrees.
So you're
Celsius.
going to load 150 degrees Celsius. Okay.
Load, and I'm gonna use a 60%, 70% of flame.
Yep.
Because I want to go. I prefer the longer roasting that short roasted.
So longer, slower roasting, longer Maillard reactions.
Right.
Leading to more what?
More sweetness, I think.
Okay.
So this thing is my idea, but this coffee and flavor should be proof at the lab label.
All right.
Because many roasters around the world, like me, talk too much about theory. So we need to check theory.
Yeah. All right.
So we need to check at the lab level some of these ideas that I have right now.
All right. So this is your roast. So take it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put that.
So we have what's your batch size?
1.5 kilos.
1.5 kilos. That's the maximum capacity of this Giesen W1A.
W1A.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
And so
so I am waiting that the heat temperature is up to at least 150 degrees.
okay.
So meanwhile, so this is this software. I have been really happy, and I say not like a distributor talking. I am talking that about like a roaster.
Yeah.
So before I had other roasting machine, and I see a very nice opportunity to develop coffees in a different way. One, there are two elements that I saw when I brought this software here. This is the speed drum and pressure.
Yeah.
So for me, we have this both element of those both tools allow me to play with a different coffee like Catiope, because many people or many growers have been producing a coffee 100 hours of fermentation, or maybe 150 hour fermentation, or put it on the, I don't know, many testing at the far level. But when they bring the coffees to the roasting machine. The roaster put the coffees inside and just roast. So we need more knowledge.
Yep.
We need tools like this software that allow me to develop this kind of beans. So,
and what is the density of this coffee?
I haven't checked this before, but
Is it more or less than 65?
We get more than 65.
More than 65. So 65 means 65 kilograms per hectoliter in this case.
Yeah, we may check later in the lab.
Yeah, okay. No. And so we are still waiting for the bean, the charge temperature to be on par. And so we are waiting until the air temperature hits 150.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Jaime, while we are waiting for the roasting machine to be fully ready, share with us some more experiences roasting so many coffees from around Colombia.
Yeah, I have been roasting coffee in Bogota. Bogota, it's located in 2,600 meters over sea level. And we are in Quindío, 1,700 meters over sea level. So this is the other thing that we are looking for. We are looking for the answer because we are in a different location. And the idea is to check what happened with this profile in Bogota and also here. So
when you're installing a roasting machine, a Giesen at 2,600 meters, then that raises the question, what happens to the combustion of the gases?
Right.
What happens to the air pressure? So those parameters, how do you take that into account roasting in Bogota versus here in Quindío?
So the only way to take account is cupping.
Yeah.
We need to. That's really important to be a good cupper.
Yeah.
Because these tools allow to move in a different way, but using the same variables there in Bogota and here in Armenia.
Yeah, and I want to share some of my own experiences in this realm because I've had the opportunity to roast in places like Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, very high. I've had the opportunity to roast in the capital of Ecuador, which is also very high. And so that can sometimes lead to challenges, problems in the roasting machine being unable to produce the amount of heat that you need to roast the coffee. And with most roasting machines, most brands, in order to deal with that, you often have to change out your burner orifices. Here's the good news about Giesen. With the Giesen machine, you do not necessarily have to do that. The Giesen actually allows for a software back-end option, which we only make available to those who are truly knowledgeable about their machine, to adjust these air pressure differences, because the air pressure at a higher elevation is lower than at sea level. And that is really cool. I don't think that any other roasting machine has that ability. That was just my observation. So,
interesting.
So we are almost ready, right?
Almost ready.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start. So
okay, the show has started. One more time, the name of this variety?
it's Catiope.
Catiope.
Castillo with
Yeah.
Ethiopia variety.
Yeah. And so maybe, Jaime, maybe you can share us some of your observations.
Yeah, I like too much to take a sample. So it will be interesting to know if I open use the sampling, it's how affect the cup profile, will it?
If you take out continually samples, as I used to do in the days that I was roasting with a rudimentary rebuilt machine. If you continue to take out samples, you will lose heat from your drum. That is inevitable. So you need to do this diligently. In my opinion, it becomes really important to take samples with your trier to validate where your Maillard reactions start. And that's temperature-wise in Celsius. Where would the Maillard reaction start in Celsius?
In Celsius, 150.
Yeah,
Around
150.
150, 60.
And so what happens when Maillard reactions set in place, that you get a chain of different reactions that are very complex to describe. But one aspect that we have found out, which is very important, is that the Maillard reactions, if allowed to continue for sufficient time, then your sweetness will greatly benefit from that. But if your Maillard reactions are too long, you run the risk that your sweetness will start to compete against like a flavor profile that is not baked, but it's a flavor profile that is gradually allowing the coffee to lose too much acidity.
Yeah.
So through your profile of your Maillard reactions, you're playing on one hand sweetness, the other hand acidity. If done well, you will not have two distinct bitter tones. And so that's one step. And then how do you approach caramelization that follows upon the Maillard reactions?
Yeah, yes, but I am playing with this software right now. So
Yeah.
I am trying to understand better how can I play with the software here in Quindío and capping all the time. So I started to do a very good training and very good coffees from this region and offer analysis, physical analysis to them, and also 2 or 3 different kind of profiles. So I gonna take. ¿Me puede pasar esa hoja que hay allá, por favor? I'm gonna show you some of these. I'm gonna show you. Well, todas. So this is for Genova town in drying and Maillard reaction and development time. So this is a very clear, and I'm gonna transmit this knowledge to the growers. So I am sure that the growers need more information about how they have to develop their coffee. They know too much about green beans, but they know how they have to develop the flavor. So we are looking for this flavor using this technology again. Try to caramelize.
So now the bean temperature is 100 degrees C. What does that mean?
100 degrees.
That's the boiling point, or that's the boiling point of water.
So
now our drying phase is really getting to a peak, right?
And also the moisture content was going up. So that the beans started to rust inside. So because the moisture content was taken out during this 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and then the rusting process started.
So good. Let's take a sample to see where we are, so you can.
5 minutes.
So this is the
Smell very well.
5-minute points. And so Jaime, I can see that you have not reduced the burner setting. At what point will you do this, or will you do it?
No, I know that this software allow me to move, go up, go down the temperature. But when know these coffees like this that I haven't roasted before, I prefer that the software and the machine going free without any change during the roasting profile. So, and then we cut the coffees and go back to the machine, start a new batch, and keep going to develop the flavor. What happened, I try to use this. This is the reason that we have a Giesen right here.
Yeah.
It's just that knowledge allow me to move maybe the curves more hue, how do you say, steeper, or more flat.
Yeah, and
So,
maybe hold the thing for the camera.
Or lower time, roasting time, or better development time, or maybe more Maillard reaction time.
So at this point, you're basically saying you're very much looking for doing a roast to investigate the properties of the coffee. And this is a consistent profile. You will do the next roast with a different type from the same town. You might do the same profile. And so in that way, the roasting process becomes a great quality comparison inspection tool, right?
Right. That's
good.
That's
perfect.
So we're gonna check.
So bean temperature is now 132. At what point do you expect the first crack?
I think that about 9, maybe.
Okay. And what temperature?
It's a 170. 180, 78.
Yeah. So you might hear these numbers and think, hey, my Giesen or my roasting machine has a different temperature point milestone where my first crack starts. Why is that? It's partially because of the conditions under which your machine have been operating. One is the elevation. Here we are at 1,700 meters, which makes the coffee react in a different way than if you are at sea level or than if you are at 2,000 meters. Another aspect is today's ambient temperature, also the air pressure. It has been raining a bit here, so we have kind of a low pressure front, which changes a lot of parameters in the roasting process. So how about let's take another sample at 150. Right. At 150. Let's wait. Let's wait.
150.
Yeah.
So talking about the same thing that you are saying, William, in Bogota normally we have a 39 moisture and
39% relative moisture
degree. And around 17 degrees, 15 degrees. And here we have a 85 moisture, humidity.
Wow.
And maybe 22 degrees. So there are totally different conditions.
So listen to this. In Bogota, 30 plus 37, 39% relative humidity versus here in Armenia in the high 70s. So that's a huge difference. And so I can, you mentioned previously that the Maillard reactions start around 150. I think it actually starts earlier.
Yeah.
Because I smell now already the early beginning of coffee aromas. This would be the point where my friends in Saudi Arabia would take the coffee out because they have a very different preparation process for their national coffee preparation. And so let's see where we end up. And then after this roast, I'm going to show you the cupping lab, and we will do a little cupping inspection. And then we will finish today. Time moves fast. We only have 10 minutes left for this broadcast.
Right.
Which is not much time.
I think that keep going.
Okay.
And I finish.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So let's go upstairs to the cupping lab. of Catación Pública. So we can kind of see what's going on there. And I will ask Adrian to come along. Oh yeah, he's already there. So just follow me. Oh, by the way, here you can see the different experiences that Catación Pública offers to the visitors, to the consumers or professionals. Extraction, agronomics, professional tasting. This is the hulling, what we did, roasting, and lab inspection. So let's go there. Adrian will be our quality inspector. So, Adrian, tell me what are we going to do?
Vamos a hacer un análisis sensorial, una catación de un perfil colombiano. Vamos a probar un café del centro del país.
So we are going to do a demonstration of a professional tasting protocol using a Colombian profile of the center of the country, como Cauca o Antioquia.
No, Génova Quindío.
Génova Quindío.
Sí, es un variedad Castillo.
This is a variety of Castillo. Yeah, and I'm getting a sign from my friends at Giesen. We only have 10 minutes left. And I know time is flying. And I'm going to quickly smell this.
Está a 2.150 metros sobre el nivel del mar.
So 2,150 meters above sea level. That's very high.
La variedad es Castillo.
The variety is Castillo.
Con 24 horas de fermentación.
With 24 hours of fermentation. Okay. And you will notice Adrian, like me and like my team at Boot Coffee, is a certified Q grader. But you can see, interestingly, they use glass cups instead of ceramic. We use ceramic, they use glass. And let me ask him why he uses glass. Porque vidrio por las tazas y no cerámico. So why glass and why not ceramic?
El primer motivo es la limpieza del vidrio, que no se contamina con olores. El segundo es la resistencia a absorber temperatura. Y tercero, que nos permite ver el dolor de la tostión.
So he explains that the benefit of glass is easier to clean, leads to less heat loss. Ceramic indeed can lead to heat loss. Y la tercera fue? So that you can see the color of the coffee. So he is going to continue cupping, and I'm going to take you down to see what Jaime did with his wonderful coffee that he was roasting. So let's go downstairs. Gracias, Adrian. Thank you. Coffee is cooling now. And this is my first experience with this variety, and it's really interesting. You can see Jaime. How did it go, Jaime?
Yeah, I am finished. We are cooling the coffee right now, and this is the end result. So will be interesting. I think that this coffee will be very exciting. The idea is to prepare in our extraction area and enjoy it. Yeah, that's.
Can I taste a couple of beans?
Sure.
Yeah, let's take the. Yeah, perfect. Great. This is my fast version of cupping. Just eating the beans.
Was almost 15 minutes. And I prefer to start to longer and going back to lower time and testing.
So almost 15 minutes, and in the next trials of the same coffee, he will gradually reduce the roasting time in order to see where his sweet spots are. Jaime, let's go back to the brewing area.
I just, while we are walking around, so I want to share something. So I am a roaster who focus in a specific profile. What does it mean? It's coffee in this specific region, for example, Guayatá, Boyacá state.
Come on this side.
So this coffee coming from with a specific flavor because come from a specific terroir, a specific process. So the flavors are inside of the beans. So like as a roaster, I can change this nature miracle. So I try to, without moving, without not like we are going to put more bitter notes and roast longer or darker. No, I try to look for the specific flavor developed for a specific region. That's the challenge for the roaster, like as a roaster.
And now I'm looking here, Adrian, he changed positions as well. And I'm just going to be next to him. And here we see the brew bar of Catación Pública. And yesterday I was able to experience one of their coffee tasting sessions using here, in this case, the Calita preparation. And it was really, really, really cool. So right now they are preparing 3 different coffees that I have the opportunity and the honor to taste. And this is also how Catación Pública works with their visitors in this experience center. You can sit down just like as if you're coming in a winery and taste each coffee by itself. You smell the coffee and you smell the next one. And rather than doing this through a challenging professional tasting protocol, this is just a brew inspection. You brew the coffee and then you find those distinct notes that are so unique for these coffees. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions, maybe to Jaime or to myself. So what I would say, since we had kind of a live show, we were not able to deal with your questions now, but just send them to us through the chats and we will get back to you. Don't forget to send us your email address with that. Jaime. So Jaime, este.
Okay.
So we are almost done with our, unfortunately, with our broadcasting. And in our after party, we will taste these coffees, but unfortunately, the audience will not be able to experience
Right.
that. This is a really cool session. Yeah, really like to be able to give the audience also an experience. And this concept, I would say, is a concept that will, I think will become a trend, not only in coffee consuming countries, but also in coffee producing countries. And we will see many more Giesen machines here throughout countries like Colombia, Mexico, offering the experience to the audience. And now we are entering into our last minutes. So I just want to say, Jaime, thank you very much.
Thank you, William. Thank you, Giesen, for allowing me to be here.
You still have to work on your Giesen.
Giesen.
Yeah. And thank you also, Adrián. Thank you. This is really cool. And thank you all the staff at Catación Pública. Our next webinar will be the end of March, and we're looking forward to that with a new exciting topic. And so see you all soon. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Enjoy your coffee. Enjoy your Giesen. And we will see you soon. Hasta luego. Tot ziens. Bye bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao, ciao.